I've got my screen shared. Hopefully you see my screen. It is Microsoft Zoom. I'm used to Microsoft Teams. Let's make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, so it says everything is sharing. I've got like 15 different things going there. I don't really feel accessible, but this is an accessibility talk. So I've got my Logitech presenter, I've got my Magic Mouse, Magic Keyboard, and Magic Trackpad. So everything is set up over here. We only see desktop. Yes. Okay, cool. That is you should see my slides now, and it should say programming for accessibility for my slides.
Yes,
and I've got
now
Simone,
we are in the right presentation.
I've got Simone, yes, speaking to me on the side. Really incredible conference, really well done. So let me tell you a little bit about me. And it's an accessible description. I am a 4'1", so 120 centimeter male, age 42, and I'm wearing a headset. I've got brown hair. I'm wearing glasses. I've got a white shirt on, and I'm speaking to you from sitting on a chair in my home office from Johannesburg, South Africa. And that is a descriptive description that that you use for visually impaired people, and also an accessible description. And the whole point of this conversation, to the hundreds of people who are listening to me right now, is to give you a very quick and easy introduction to how you can program for accessibility. So we're going to go through a journey, my journey for the accessibility, and then we're going to show you very quick and easy ways, multi-language support. I am a Java developer, you can see there, and I work for Microsoft, Microsoft Azure mainly, and I do Java development and accessibility. And you can follow me on at Rory Preddy. Look at that laser pointer there. This Logitech presenter is so brilliant. Go get one right now. You can follow me on at Rory Preddy on Twitter, and all the slides that I'm going to do is going to be available online. So a little bit about a story. So you should always set the stage for the story. So I have achondroplasia, dwarfism. So I'm 4'1", pretty short, 120 centimeters, and I bolt on everything to get my life livable and workable. Let me just move my video there so you don't look at my eyes actually going from side to side. It's always good to have direct eye contact with the audience. And with the bolt-on, so this is my BMW 335i, I still have it in the garage. And you can see there, those are the car pedals that I've bolted on. So this is really the story of my life until, recently when accessibility came to fruition, came to everyone's mindset with the COVID climate, and accessibility now is on everyone's lips because they realize now they can work from home, they need to become accessible. And with everything here, this is before the COVID climate here, I made my world accessible. I bolted on a chair here. Here I am lecturing at a university, and here I am getting coffee. You can see, notice this theme there, there's a Red Bull, there's some coffee there. The caffeine means a lot to me. And most programmers also, and I really make it work. But the problem with bolt-on is that you create a beast, a mythical beast called the Hydra. So the Hydra is a medieval, I think it's Greek mythology, that it's a snake that if you cut off the one head, then another one grows immediately. And we as programmers know this because if you fix a bug in production, what's going to happen? Another bug's going to form. And it's the same with accessibility. If you fix one accessibility issue right at the end, you bolt it on right at the end on your software, you're going to give birth to the Hydra. So this talk is about my journey with bolt-on, but also how to stop the Hydra from being created. Because if you really want to be able to pop the empathy bubble and stop the Hydra from creation, there's a process that I'm going to show you how to do that. So you've never lived in my bubble. You've never been able to be 4'1". If you have, tell me a little bit about your tricks and trades so you can tell me how to reach that coffee right at the top though. But the bubble exists because we're all unique. Now, I was reading something recently about the expansion of the universe, and it said that when the universe expanded, it actually expanded from every single point. So every one of us actually is, the universe is expanding around us. We have our own universe and our own empathy and bubble around us for our own accessibility requirements. So if you don't understand someone else's bubble, then what you're going to do is you're going to create a hard drive for them. So you can see here, here's someone who really had good intentions, and they created a accessible walkway for wheelchairs. But right at the end, they didn't realize that that was almost impossible to get over with a wheelchair. And that really is the hard drive. So they maybe ran out of concrete, or they bolted it on this to existing stairs, and then they ran out of space. So I've got a plan. We've got a plan. We're going to define accessibility, what it is and what it isn't. And we're going to talk about bolt-on and the process around that. We're going to understand a organization's unique accessibility motivators. We're going to look at compliance requirements and also altruism, so the stick and carrot. Then we're going to look at setting interim milestones by using agile methodology with a few examples around how to do that. We're going to implement tools. So Microsoft has many open source tools that I'm going to show you. So out of the box, open source, freely available, that you can go in and use. Then we're going to measure, improve, and automate. So we're going to look at processes on how to make sure that you are doing the right thing. So first, let's define and undefine accessibility. So what is accessibility? It's the design of products, services, and environments so that everyone, including people with disabilities, can fully experience them. So it's not designing for disabilities. And I'm going to tell you exactly and show you why that is a bad idea. What it is really is broadening the scope of that empathy bubble and looking at as many people as you can incorporate in your design by being inclusive. And with inclusive product and service design, incorporating accessibility compliance, you increase productivity and innovation. And we have many, many studies on Microsoft.com/accessibility that shows that once you decide to go accessible, you increase your innovation and as a result, your revenue. Because once you think through an innovation process, you can also reach more customers. For example, the silver generation, we're living longer. Human beings are living longer. So as a result, more people are failing eyesight. Now, the silver generation is $1 trillion industry. So to exclude them from some of your services is to exclude trillions and trillions of dollars. And we're going to look at the persona spectrums and how to include those personas into your processes. Let's also debunk disability. Now, as part of my midlife crisis, I'm 42, so I started my midlife crisis about 38, 37. I bought one of those BMI scales, you know, the scales that you can measure your body fat. I've lost a lot of weight. I was 66 kilos. I'm now 50 kilos. I went on keto and I lost all of the weight. But the BMI scale makes you put in your weight. So I put in the scale there at 66 kilos and then height. So I put in there at 120 centimeters or 4'1". And then it had a little crawling baby and a very tall adult. And I thought, I can't be an adult. I mean, like I'm 66 kilos. It's going to think that I'm emaciated, but I'm going to put the baby in there. So put the baby, I jumped on the scale and it did its little calculation and it called me terrible names that I can't even mention online right now. And I thought to myself, oh, well, I feel so demotivated because I felt disabled. And the reason I felt disabled because I had a mismatched human interaction. That's it. I wasn't really disabled to the scale. The scale was just designed incorrectly, but I felt disabled at that moment. Now, the second thing that really, I want to define is I felt disabled recently. I went on a trip before COVID to New York. I was going to Java One, the Java One conference, a really big conference in San Francisco. And I was passing through the New York International Airport. And it takes a picture of your face to be able to pass through customs. And I couldn't get it to actually scale down to my face. So I actually asked an entire family and I said, please just lift me up. At the time I weighed 66 kilos. So the whole family had to lift me up and get me to do that picture. And I felt disabled because that camera had made me feel that I had mismatched human interaction. And that really is what we want to do. It just doesn't exist. So if you design it for accessibility, you stop people feeling disabled because they will be able to use your systems. So accessibility is also defined by 4 main principles. We're not going to go too much into the WCAG accessibility principles, but WCAG stands for the Web Center for Accessibility Guidelines. You can go Google WCAG. It's incredible. It's so detailed and rich on how you can do that, but it really has only 4 principles. Perceivable, can you see it? I've got glasses here, and you can see the blue light also there to stop my eyes from being, destroyed from this MacBook here radiation. As I grow older, I might also need bigger text or a bigger screen. And perceivable defines the accessibility principles on how you can design your system to be accessible for people with visual impairment. Operable, can you use it? Now, I'm using a Logitech Presenter. I'm using a Magic Mouse for my right hand. I'm using a touchpad for my left hand because I've got RSI at age 42. I've got RSI on both my shoulders and a keyboard there because I can't actually reach my MacBook. If you look at here, my MacBook actually is right in front of me. So I need an operable setup to be able to use my laptop. Understandable, can you use it? Now, if I take my keyboard, my mouse, and I do that in front of you, that's great. But if you have autism or ADHD or anything like that, you might not be able to actually handle that amount of stimuli. So understandable really allows people to create a principle that will not overwhelm people. I also find that when I watch videos, I have to watch it because I've got a little bit of anxiety going there. I want to watch the video at 2 times the speed because the slowness of the speed actually makes me anxious. So you need to make your tooling understandable to people in the neurodiverse and also using the WCAG principles. And lastly, we have robust. It won't break future technologies. So if you've got a phone and you have a landscape and you move it to portrait, it shouldn't break. And that scalable design really is a principle with accessibility, with WCAG. It won't break future technology. So you've got all of those, and we'll reference some of those as we progress through that. And that's really the core of WCAG accessibility design principles. So you've got those principles. Now you look at motivators to how to apply them to your business practices. So first of all, we got legislation. Now, the US 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act and the EU Parliament Directorate of Digital Accessibility says they're going to take a stick, and from this year, you better be WCAG 2.1 AA compliant, or like Canada does, if you're a civil-facing website, you get a $100,000 fine per day. Remember GDPR? Remember all of those? Do you accept cookies? Do you accept us doing the data? This is bigger by far, because this really says we're going to shut down your business. So that's the stick coming at you and saying you will comply. But we also have the carrot. Best summed up in the altruistic quote by Bill Gates saying, for most of human history, we put our innovative capacity improving the quantity of life. Supersize it, more for everyone, because we're living longer. And I remember the silver generation that I mentioned. Our focus is starting to shift towards improving the quality of life. We've realized that quantity is not really a measure to gauge people's success and happiness in life. We need to actually make their lives better by giving them a quality of life with an altruistic approach. So there you have the stick, which is compliance, which is coming in now. And you'll find a lot of people are now complying with legislation in the EU and also America, and then also with the carrot. Now, the carrot says, do the right thing, because you can become aware with awareness of other people's difficulties. You can go from pity to sympathy, to empathy and compassion. And it allows you then right at the compassion to pop that empathy bubble, because if you understand how someone would be able to not use your site with only a keyboard, then you would be able to look back at your design processes and say, I'll change my design process to make it keyboard compliant, because then you'll be compassionate for people who may not be able to use a mouse or a keyboard. And you do this by defining persona spectrums and using persona spectrums. I'm going to show you where to get these now. So introducing Ashley. She's a 24-year-old arts graduate and administrative assistant. She's severely sight impaired, so she's blind, and she uses a screen reader. Now you take your website, you take those persona spectrums, and now you actually become Ashley. So if you can't use your vision, you close your eyes and you become Ashley, and now you use your keyboard or your mouse, and you'll see your entire persona changes in your usage of a system. Now you can access these. These are alphagov.github.io accessibility-personas. These are all freely available. And what these do is they define all these persona spectrums. Now you take these persona spectrums and you apply them to inclusive design. So in this example, it's Ashley, and she's visually impaired, but she's in the same perspective as also as someone who is in the silver generation over the age of 70, who might have failing eyesight, or me, who needs glasses. So you recognize the exclusion, you understand that you need to cater for operable or visually impaired people by recognizing the exclusion. You solve for one, extend to many. You look at Ashley and you solve it for her. Now, if you solve it for Ashley, you're going to include the silver generation, and then you learn from diversity. Then you have a survey at the end of it to say, did we meet your expectations? So let's look at a nice example. This is from the Microsoft Inclusive Design Toolkit, freely available. So this is someone with an amputee, so no use of the, I think that's the right, I can't remember, your right or my left. That person there is also in the same persona spectrum as someone with an arm injury, maybe a motorcycle accident, and a new parent. And I know what you're saying, but a new parent's not disabled. They don't have any accessibility requirements. I've got 2 kids. You're cradling a newborn here in your arm. I promise you, not only are you sleep deprived and tired, but you can't use your arm, but you're financially, mentally, physically, spiritually tired for that though. So you take these people and then you go to your manager and you say, or your customers, and you say, I want to design for the first part here, the person who's the amputee. They say, no, you can't, because there's only 26,000 people, and these are for the US Centers for Statistics in the US population. But if you look at the temporary disabilities, there's 13 million people who have hurt their arm, but are temporary need accessible requirements. And the situational disabilities, 8 million. Now, collectively in that persona spectrum, we went from 26,000 to 21 million. Now it makes financial sense, but now you can approach your customers and your stakeholders and say, now I can cater for 21 million. When you look at everyone who's got accessible requirements in the world, there's more than 1 billion people. When you take friends and families and loved ones who are heavily involved and financially dependent and helping support those people, it's 3 billion people. It makes financial sense to be accessible, because you're including those people in your persona spectrums. So you have your persona spectrums. The next thing in inclusive design, you define your journey management. So this is a ticketing scenario. I did this for the IATA conference for Emirates Airline. And you've got your classic ticketing journey. You've got registration, navigation, and checkout. And then registration, you've got login, add to cart, search flights, checkout, ticketing, and then experience. Now, you might want to just approach with your normal personas, but once we superimpose the persona for the amputee, everything changes. From your registration, you now have a capture for font and color options, accessibility help desk, single sign-on, voice search, callback help, SMS email, one by access. And right at the end, we have AI adjustment. So they put in there, wait a second, could you use your arms, or could you actually use it with navigation and keyboard? No. Then you go in and you change it. Next time they log in, it actually changed the process to make sure that they can actually use their arm. And we're seeing more and more sites doing that. And I am hearing someone in the background, sorry, and it is a baby, so maybe I dialed into the wrong link. If you can mute your microphones, please. Thank you. Great. So you've got all of these persona spectrums, and then you change it with AI, and I'll show you exactly how to do that with the agile thing. But you can't AI adjust the process if you have bolt-on, because then you're going to give birth to the hard drive. So let's look at how you can change it with Milestones. We're really great for time, and I really want to take a lot of your questions at the end. So get those questions ready. We've got a lot of time for questions. I've got some really great demos to do. So this is the typical system development lifecycle for a waterfall process. You can see there, I've got my UX research, and then I do my wireframe. I've got my product backlog. I've got my sprint backlog. And then in the sprint, I rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And then I've got, I can use Scrum or XP or anything there. And then I've got a shippable project. And then I put accessibility right at the end. Can you see what's happening right here? There's the hard drive. At where I'm trying to do accessibility, it will never work, because it's never going to be able to introduce and fix those accessibility projects. And your customers are going to feel disabled. So introducing the shift left movement. So you've got traditional, where you've got large investment right at the end. Now with shift left, with the agile process, you've got small investments as you progress throughout the process in your backlog design, coding, and testing, and it changes the process. So instead of having accessibility right at the end, you don't have accessibility on the bolt-on. The hardware is dead by then. You have accessibility on your UX research, in your design, on your wireframe, in your backlog, and then you have sprint, rinse and repeat with accessibility. And it's easy to do that when you have the right tools. So let's look at the tools on how to actually do that and create that. So introducing accessibility insights. So we partnered with the DQ Labs to run their rules engine here, and we can cater for nearly any app there that you do. And it's all free, all available right now, and all open source. We've got accessibility insights for web, which I'm going to do a little demo a little bit later. We've got for Windows. We've got for CI/CD for Azure DevOps. We've got for Android, and we've got for recently released GitHub Actions. All of this is available. You can go to accessibilityinsights.io. The slides are available on the actual website of the conference. So all of that is available there, but you can go to accessibilityinsights.io, and the web one is available on Chrome and Edge, and you can just start with it immediately. And I'm going to show you a demo of how to get started. In 20 seconds, you can start your accessibility journey. You might also want to do this as a Scrum rinse and repeat. Remember, I showed you that process, and we've just launched Accessibility Insights GitHub Actions. You can see there, this one failed with accessibility checks, and it shows you what is going on here. You've got one URL that is not right, 6 tests, and you can go to microsoft.com/accessibility-insights.action or accessibilityinsights.io, the one that I showed you there, and you can go use it. GitHub Actions, you know, they've even got a free tier now. I pay $4 and I get nearly infinite number of GitHub Actions per month. So you can go and use GitHub Actions. You can also use Azure DevOps. If you're an enterprise, you really want to use Azure DevOps, and you can go and you can run .NET tests, Maven tests. I've done this actually at a Ruby conference, at a .NET conference, at a Java conference, Python, PHP, anything that you can imagine. And I've done these demos when I go to those conferences in the language of your choice. And you can go, if you're a .NET developer or TypeScript developer, the easiest way to go to github.com/Microsoft/X-pipeline samples. And it's got some really great samples there that out of the box are going to just work there for your samples to be able to use. And you get a nice little, it's working or not, and the hardware is dead then. Now, what happens if you can't kill the hardware at the process and rinse and repeat with your agile process? So we've got mechanisms that you can kill the hardware, that you can kind of say, I'm going to make an accessible experience for you, even though I've got a legacy application or legacy product or website here. Now, we do that with Immersive Reader. So what Immersive Reader does, and you've got that on Microsoft Office, on Edge, on OneNote, on Teams, and you can just go into Immersive Reader and you just click on the little button, the eclipse there. You can see there, that's the little clips there. And you can go to Immersive Reader, and you can get that in nearly all of the Microsoft products, and it'll create an immersive experience out of any text that you want. Not only immersive experience, but it gives you also the ability to change languages. Now, I've done this talk in Hindi. I've done this, I'm going to show you now in German, Swiss, in any language, in Afrikaans, in any language you want to do, translate to, and this is old, it can do 73 languages now. You can do pronunciations, you can do syllables, you can do pictures. Not only that can you do that, but you can also make it for neurodiverse customers or clients, because you can take it and you can make the font bigger, and then you can make it highlight the text there, like a Kindle experience, an Amazon Kindle experience. You can also do this with the Azure AI tools to look at your images. Remember when I said perceivable? So the biggest issue right now is image captioning. I'm actually doing quite a few sessions to promote image captioning. And the easiest way to do image captioning is to look at how Azure does it, and PowerPoint uses that image captioning. So here we have Satya Nadella, Bill Gates, and Steve Ballmer, all ex-CEOs and the current CEO of Microsoft. And you can see there, it analyzes there, and it looks at the emotions, the actual characteristics of that, but it also gives you a text there, Satya Nadella, Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer posing for a photo. Now, if I go out of this PowerPoint here, and I go to the first part of my PowerPoint here, and I click on that here, and I can go right click in there, and I go edit alt text. I can go generate a description for me. and it'll generate a description for me and give me and that uses the Azure technology at the background there, the cognitive services to go and generate that. And we're the best in the world. We recently won the the Facebook No Caps challenge to say that we are better than a human being at captioning that with the Azure cognitive services. So go in and look at that and click in. If you want to go into review, you can go to check accessibility, you click on that, and it'll go through all of that and fix your Microsoft Word documents for you online also. So let's go back into there. Let me go and find that there. Let's go in there and we want there. Okay, cool. Now we've got the demo. Great. Now I'm going to show you a lot in these demos. I've still got like 25 minutes of the talk though. So I really want to get deep and down with that, but I want to show you the quickest way. If you take anything from this talk right now, it's how to get started on web accessibility. And in 15 seconds, you can check your accessibility. So we've got a website here. Where is Mr. Chrome? So this is the w3.org, the accessibility before and after. Now in this site here, we've got City Lights, a little tourism site that promotes the city. And you've got the inaccessible and accessible versions. And if you notice, if I click on the accessible versions, they look and feel exactly the same because they're not accessible. The inaccessible is not accessible because what they've done is they've done horrible HTML coding to make it inaccessible. For example, in the inaccessible one, if I tab through, I just stop right there. Whereas the accessible with the navigation, remember the WCAG is a navigable. I can go through all the way through there. So I can actually use accessibility with the keyboard. Now, what happens if I want to go into the inaccessible site and I want to look at the images? There's no alt tags here. If I right click here and I go to inspect the page source, they haven't added any image tags. So you can use Azure Cognitive Services there to go in and go in. You can see there just image to look at the image tags. Also, if you have a screen reader software, and you see what they've done here. They've actually created BR tags here. So if you go inspect here, they've done BR tags instead of list item tags. And if I switch on a screen reader software, it's not going to be able to read that because it doesn't understand that you have list items here. So how do we check this? Now I've got at the top here, I've got my little Accessibility Insights plugin. You can go into the Chrome store. So if we go Chrome store, Accessibility Insights, you can just go in and install it. There it is, Accessibility Insights for web. You can just go in and install it here. There it is, Accessibility Insights for web. I've already got it installed here. And then I can go into my site here. Now I'm on the accessible site. So I'm going to show you how to check accessible. Then we're going to go to the inaccessible site and see the differences. So on the accessible site, I'm going to click on the Accessibility Insights, and you get all of these nice little rich features here. So I can switch on automatic check, so it can actually run it constantly there. I can switch on and off color, the headings. So if it shows me all of the headings there, color, I can switch off there. The tab stops. So in the accessible website here, I can go through all the tab stops if I want to do test here, but I can also go in and run a little engine, a rules engine. This uses the DQ engine called FastPass. FastPass is so quick and it checks 25% of the most important indicators for WCAG 2.1 compliant, AA compliant. If you pass these, most probably you're already compliant. So if you can just click on here. So we're in the accessible website here. I'm going to click on FastPass and it should go in there and say, I'm fine. Failed instances, nothing. So everything worked fine. Now, if I go into the same instance here, and now I'm going to the inaccessible page, and I'm going to run FastPass. I'm going to expect it to fail, but I want it to fail fast. Remember, thing about Agile, you want to fail fast. So, and it shows me there, wow, 44 issues. I've got the color contrast is incorrect, and it goes through exactly what you're trying to do with color contrast. And you can go in and look at that. That has lang, so the language, the actual spoken language is incorrect. The alt tags are incorrect. And how do you fix that? And it gives you all of what you can fix there. Then it also has right at the bottom, the link name is incorrect and the select names are incorrect because it's analyzing the HTML. Now, that's great and everything, but I want to see a visual representation of that. So I can actually go into my Chrome and look at that. can actually show me exactly what the problem is. Now I can go into the alt tag here and I can click on one of these and I can go, wow, this is the success criteria. I can click on that success criteria, go in and look at all of those and understand exactly what's going on there. And I can also go and fix one of them or tell you how to fix it. I can copy the failure details, or I can file the issue straight to GitHub. I just click on that. It's tied into my GitHub email. And then I can say, tester, hey, listen, that's wrong. Go and fix it, please. It's as simple as that. So that's the main thing I want you to take away from this entire session there, that it's that quick to actually get it right. Now, if you want to go full compliance here, we do have a check here. So you can click on there and you can go to, we want to go fastball assessment. So assessment here goes through the full 2.1 compliance here. You go through keyboards, automated checks, keyboard navigation. It'll tell you what to do, pass, fail, the visual helper, everything that you want to do here. It goes through adaptive context, audio, video, captioning. It'll run through there and tell you how to fix it. And it's a really great way to do that here. So there's so many checks there. And this rules engine that the DQ labs run called X, we use this now in our agile tools. Remember those X pipeline samples that I showed you there? This is the same engine that we use. And this is the next part of the demo. I've got, you can see here, a Maven plugin. So we've got Maven running here, and Maven is a Java package manager. And I've got some tests here that are running against resource. Let me show you the little page here. I've got source, main, and I've got test, resources, and there's some pages here. So I've got HTML, and I've got a normal page here. And this normal page here, let's just close that there for a second. So this is a test page with no violations. And we want to, you can test that where with shadow DOM, shadow error here. This one here actually has a shadow error here. Now we can run that. And this uses the same technology as the FastPass to actually go in and run that. So if you go into your tests here, and you when we run that there, you can go in there and you can run the test files there. Where are we? And you can go, you can see all those example unit tests here. We can just run one here that we're going to run here, and you can just run here. Click to run test, and you can just run the test there, and it's going to use Chromium to actually start up a test there, and it should pass because I ran it earlier today. And there we go. Now you take all of that, now you run that against your website constantly to actually check the compliance there, and then you've got something like this that I set up actually earlier today on GitHub, Azure DevOps. And this uses that exact same project, the X pipeline samples that I showed you there. And you can set up your pipeline there, and you can run your test trends, get a nice little dashboard, and you can run that Maven build constantly with your setups every time someone pushes it. This is what I do at Microsoft. So every time I do learn content, now I'm a Java advocate and I do Microsoft learn content, you can go in aka.ms/java-learn-path. That's my day job. And I do the same rules engine to check accessibility of my content on Microsoft Docs and Microsoft Learn. And it runs that Maven build or Node build or .NET build against the job there and tells you, wait a second, those tests ran successfully there. You can see there the 100% test pass. And you want to run this constantly to be able to get an indication that your tests are run and get that nice little like, yay, I am compliant, 100% pass. And it's as easy as that. You've got the X engine, you can run it against your files. We also have GitHub Actions. You can see there here's GitHub Actions, and it's also running against a repository here. I've got Accessibility Insights action here, and this runs against accessibility checks, and it does the same thing. It's the same engine there, and you've got GitHub Actions if you want to use GitHub Actions rather than Azure DevOps. And that Hydra is dead and dusted. But what happens if you can't do that? If you can't change the site, you've got a legacy application. So let's look at an application now, and let's look at Immersive Reader. So let's go into where are we there? Okay, so this is the Immersive Reader. You can Google it. The actual samples. It's on some of the sites I got there. So this is the Immersive Reader. And let's minimize this here. We want to close that there. I love how it just wants to run everything as I get there. So this is a little website I've got here, and it says the Immersive Reader is a tool with proven technologies to improve reading comprehension for emerging readers. And then it goes through multiple languages. So it's going to read multiple languages for me. So I've got this site here. Then I've got a little bit of JavaScript that is going to go to Azure and pull an Immersive Reader token for me and run Immersive Reader with a little button there. Now this costs for 1 million transactions, like pennies a year to actually run. And you can put a little button on your website and say, create an immersive experience. And we're getting more and more customers doing that for us to be able to say, listen, I can't create that. I need to create that bolt-on. And I just want to create a button there. So I'm going to go Maven Tomcat 7:run. And it's going to create on port 8888. It's going to create an immersive experience with that HTML that I've got there. So let's go back into Chrome here. And let's go into 8888. So now I've got the site, 8888. This is what happens when you type, there we go, localhost. And I don't think I shared my screen with sound. I'm going to stop sharing quickly, and I'm just going to share again with sound, because I want you to hear the actual sound. So if maybe you can't hear it, but let me just stop sharing and quickly share again with sound. So stop sharing, and then I want to go share screen and share sound. That's what we want, because I want you to hear this actually. So share screen. So now you should see my screen. So you can see my Immersive Reader. And now I've got a little button there saying Immersive Reader. Look at that. So this is my experience there. And I can click on Immersive Reader. If everything works fine, the demo guides are listening. And now it's going to create an immersive experience. And I didn't have to change anything on my website. And then now I've got this. Now I can change the font size. So I can, let me make it a little bit smaller there. I can do the spacing, the actual font size, not Comic Sans. Who would ever change it to Comic Sans? I can also change the syllables, the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, especially for non-English speakers. The adverbs show labels. So I can click on there and it'll show me, and I can read each text there. So I can go readers. I can also look at visual representation. If this one has a picture, there's people. But I can also go in and I can translate the whole document. So let's go and see what languages we got here. So I want German, but I want German Swiss. So let's see here, German Switzerland. There we go. Because I know that we just did that. And I want to translate the entire document. Let's see if we can do that. Now, without doing anything to translation, I can actually go read that to you back in German.
Immersive Reader ist ein Tool, das bewährte Techniken implementiert, das Leseverständnis für aufstrebende Leser, Sprachlerner und Menschen mit Lern-
experience, but not only that, you create innovation. So that's really what I wanted to show you. By me becoming accessible, I've also introduced the ability to be to do multiple translations. So I created that innovation. Now I can approach the German Swiss audience with my website without having to worry about, doing translation services. And this is Immersive Reader. The last thing I want to do before we open up for questions is show you the computer vision. Now, remember that computer vision that we did with PowerPoint that I went in and I showed you how you can actually do that. So it's as easy as this. Let's go back into our Visual Studio Code. Let me open up the project here. So I've got another Azure cognitive services running there called Computer Vision. Now this actually won the No Caps challenge there. So I've got a little, let's go into here. I've got a little Java program here, and it's going to go analyze an image. So I'm going to show you how you can analyze an image, but I'm also going to show you how difficult it is to actually analyze images. So I've got an image here. Let's go find that image. So let's go this, and I just randomly took this. I don't remember where I actually found this though, but this is just an image of a person who is on a wheelchair coming out of a train. Try in your mind, describe that to someone. Now close your eyes and try explain that. So in my eyes, I close that and what I want to see is a person in a wheelchair stepping out of a train or next to a train. But your mind, if you don't describe it with using computer vision, is going to over describe it. It's going to say, here's a lady who's in a sweatshirt, who's on a black wheelchair, who's stepping out of what looks like a Amtrak train, who's on the train there, who's on the not on the walkway there, and she's smiling. Too much. You can't do that with computer vision because you're overwhelming the person. So let's see exactly what it says with the computer vision there. So let's run this now. And I've got also sitting on the Azure portal, I've got a cognitive services Azure service there, and it costs pennies a year to actually run. So I'm going to run this here. and it's going to go analyze my image there, and it's going to come back with me with a description that we self-train and we train constantly to actually describe. So let's see what it actually describes. Now, in your head, remember, what are you describing? It's a person sitting in a wheelchair next to a train with a high confidence. That's all you need. And that's exactly what you would get with PowerPoint or Word. And that we've checked against AI learning to make sure that that's enough for people to understand what is happening there. So you can go and access that and then use all of those services. So finally here, I've got some homework for you. And let's go back into there. Let's make that bigger. And thank you, you've been a great audience. And I really enjoy the incredible vibe that the conference is. So in conclusion, empathy, being able to pop that bubble, slay that hydra, create those persona spectrums, and create those labs around using that. Shift left, create that agile, the ability to use those dev tools and to constantly test your system around that and make less work for a developer, testing team, QA, all of that. And then automate with AI. You don't have the ability to actually go in and create and kill the hardware immediately. Kill it with Immersive Reader and cognitive services. Now, go get the badge. So this is something that I've promised all of the Microsoft stakeholders that I was going to promote. You can go to aka.ms. It'll take you 20 minutes. You can go to Accessibility Fundamentals. You can get a nice little badge, and it covers nearly everything I've showed you there in very easy and quick concession there that you can go in and go aka.ms accessibility-fundamentals. I also said to my stakeholders there that I would move the dial around people with accessibility awareness though. So please go and review my session, give me some feedback, tell me about a little bit about yourself. Go to https aka.ms /acc-face I was about to say Facebook -FB, and it's going to feedback. Sorry, that stands for feedback and feedback on my session. Tell me about your story, because I want to actually reach out to the audience there and understand your empathy bubbles and reach to the product teams and help them understand who's using those tools. So we've done 41 minutes of this incredible session, and I'm going to open up for questions. Please, I'm going to leave that up there so you can go in and screenshot that there. All of the slides are available right now. Simone, do we have any questions? You can also ask the questions online on the chat. Dominique says, brilliant talk. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dominique. So if you can, Dominique, please go in and go and review my session. It will be great to feedback. And like I said I promised Microsoft I was going to move the dial and make sure that they were aware of the issues around that and feedback to them and promote the accessibility fundamentals. It's important for us, and it's freely available. You don't have to pay a cent for that. All the tools that I showed you also there are free. So thanks. A little bit more. Do we have any questions? Do you want to know a little bit about more features about accessibility insights, about myself, about the Java learning path, my day job? You can just pop it in the chat and you can ask away. So SD said, I did not get exactly how to do the Immersive Reader button on an existing website. What do you need for that? Well, I'm going to show you the GitHub repo. So you can actually go in there and you can just get it. So let's go in here. So where were we? So if you go to the Immersive Reader SDK, so go Immersive Reader SDK. So let's go to the Immersive Reader SDK. There's a GitHub repo. So you can go to microsoft.com/Immersive Reader SDK. And I would love to say that I've actually done all of this, but I didn't write all of this. I work with the product groups there. So you can actually go in to the Immersive Reader SDK. And that website there you can actually use it there. So Microsoft SDK, so usage, JavaScript, you can actually go in there and go look at the samples there for the samples. So you can see their samples, and you can go C#, Node.js, Java, Kotlin, Node, Python, all of that there. And you can go in there, and what you do with that SDK, if I show you on my portal, all I did was I created a Immersive Reader, a Azure object. So it's basically just a REST service that sits on Azure. So let me just show you here. Here's my portal here, and I want to go to Immersive Readers here, and I created a Immersive Reader, and then I created a service principal. Very important. You've got a service principal here, and I've got an Immersive Reader object here. I think this is this one here. And then you just create that, and then you give it an identity and a keyboard there. Now, if we go look at the cost, let's go view the cost and see how much it costs me over like a period of a year. And you'll see here that it costs you like per million transactions, like 3 cents. So you can actually just put this on your website everywhere, and it shouldn't actually cost you that much. And you can go into, so you can view accumulated costs, and you can actually go in there. I don't think I'm just going to leave that on there. Okay, no reported costs, go to last month, and we can go into that. But you can go in there and you can view the costs there. So it's easier to do that. And you can go into the GitHub repo that I just showed you, and it shows you how to do that. It shows you how to set it up, how to create the service principal, how to do that all there. SD, thank you so much. That was a really great question to create that button. Okay, Dominic says, do you know whether the web content accessibility guidelines are already enforced in Europe? For civil-facing websites, I believe that they were enforced from this year. Now, this is civil-facing websites, so government websites. Now, at Microsoft, we have them enforced already. So all our videos have captioning around that. It depends. With the EU is a little bit different also from America, because obviously the states and the countries have those regulations. But my feel for it, because I'm getting constantly people from the EU and America saying to me, how do I do video captioning? How do you do all of that? It is being enforced for civil facing websites. Now, something else I want to show you, which is like the best thing ever, is a little website to do your video captioning. So if I go to here and I want to go videoindexer.ai, this is the best video captioning tool ever. And this is run by Azure. So I'm going to go AAD account here, videoindexer.ai. This allows you to create responsive video captionings for your tools. So this is something that I created for all things accessible, an accessible website, a program that I did for the Reactor. Now, if you go to timeline here and I play that, look at that. It actually encoded it for me, but I can go into each one of those and I can go in and change it. Or I can download those captions. I can go and download the captions. So if I go play here, and it's going to play them there, it'll run through all of those captionings there. So definitely what I see coming up more than anything is the video captioning here. And this is the most difficult thing that people really battle with. You'll see that the timeline's running through here, and it's going to actually run there. I can go auto scroll on or off here, and I can go into each one of these. Hello, everyone, and welcome. And it will go through all of that, and it will go through all of that. And I can download those captions there. And this is here already. I can tell you now that video captioning is here already. Whether or not it's here to change your website. Remember, there's WCAG 2.1 AA compliance, and then there's AAAA. So AA means that you've got video captioning, image captioning, and then you conform to some of those settings that I showed you there with HTML. But the first thing that is really going to hit you is video captioning. So go into videoindexer.ai and start looking at how you can do this. And this is also very cheap to run and to use. And you can actually just go, I'm going to download my my artifacts, my closed captioning. This when I showed the people at Microsoft that I work with, the business people there, you can just download the VTT, the text, the CSV files, and it does it very well. But if you find a little bit of a battle, you can go into those. Hello, everyone, and welcome. There. You can go into and edit those captions. Check this out. Now I can go in there and I can change those captions on the fly. This is just, I could do an entire session just on this video indexer. You really want to go to videoindexer.ai, and this is really there, I know, because people are coming to me and saying, how do I do video captioning right now? Look to your legislation for your direct country, Dominic, and see if you have it there. But we don't want to be at GDPR where everyone quickly rush. Remember GDPR when you have, do you accept cookies or do you have data requirements and everything? We don't want to do that. That is the stick. I'm going to hit you with compliance. We want to be able to get there before that. We want to be able to create that innovation and really have that the ability to go and translate into German, Swiss without having to worry about any of that. Thank you for your question, Dominic. I think we are nearly out of time. We don't have any more questions. We're on 15 minutes. I want to thank you for the organizers the great JCon conference for the sponsors, and Microsoft accessibility team for incredible mission statement that they've done to empower everyone in every organization, not dependent on their disabilities, to achieve more. Thank you so much. Follow me on Twitter and go to those resources that I showed you about. Finally, there, get the badge, review my session, and have empathy, shift left, and automate. Thank you, everyone.